and welcome to episode 97 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Howard Kravitz. So happy you can join us tonight, the night before Thanksgiving. I hope you've worked up that stomach and you're ready for some great turkey tomorrow. I'm really happy that you've joined us tonight. We're going to have a great show with a guest that I've been waiting to have on a long time. So I'm really happy to have him on here. We'll bring on our guest in just a few minutes. Please make sure you subscribe right there on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Hit that notification bell so you know when new content will rise. And then also please smash that thumbs up button. That'll tell YouTube that this is a great show and people should watch it. So when people type in horse racing or Churchill Downs or whatnot, this show will pop up. It would be greatly appreciated. You can reach me many ways. You can see on my name tag there. My Twitter handle has been on fire. Have a lot of people following every day. There's new people. Greatly appreciate it. At H Kravitz, excuse me. And then on the name tag down below, you can see my email. Please email me any questions, comments, anything about the show that you'd like to see improve or things you really like, or just to say hello. hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. Of course, you all know about my race day blog. If you're new to the show, you don't, but there's information there. Also, below the video player in the description, you can find about the race day blog. It's a great holiday gift. It's really inexpensive. I give out some fantastic horizontal tickets, price and spot plays. It's given out every Saturday morning. It's 2 pages long. It's well worth your while. We've had some great scores on the race day blog. Really hope that you go ahead and sign up for the race day blog if you have not already. So without further ado, let's jump into the show. We're going to go a little bit shorter tonight because of the holiday tomorrow. And our guest is very, very busy. I'm so flattered that he's willing to come on, especially tonight with his busy schedule. Last night, I had his counterpart at Fairgrounds coming up here, Kevin Kilroy. He was fantastic. But tonight, I bring on a fellow Chicagoan. Very excited to talk about a lot of things with him. I've been a big fan of his for a long time and watching him for a long time, way back his days in Chicago. The racing analyst for Churchill Downs and Fairgrounds, a very dedicated worker of CDI. He has some great picks he's going to share with us and talk about the weekend stakes at Churchill. The one and only Joe Christopher. Joe, how you doing tonight?
Man, I'm telling you, when I emailed you a little while ago, I'm just looking forward to hanging out and talking some racing and have a little bit of fun because this, people are like, man, Derby's really crazy for you, like the weeks leading up. This November with the 5-day race weeks and the 12 race cards and the big stakes and the stars of tomorrow, and then trying to get Kilroy acclimated to everything going on in New Orleans, and they open up tomorrow. I jump in my car a week from Friday to head down to New Orleans. It's a crazy time, but this is kind of sort of what we live for, man. It's a fast-paced situation that we're dealing with. We got a lot of great stakes. Big 2-year-old card on Saturday. They call it the Stars of Tomorrow for a reason. So you're right. It's a busy time, but it's kind of like a blur when it's all over.
Listen, 2 things I want to say, Joe. First of all, I know you're really busy, and every myself and all the viewers really appreciate you coming on tonight because you had a full show today, and I'm sure you crushed that pick 5 for 138,000 today. I'll tell you, I was alive to the pick 4 until the 3 horse won the second to last leg, who was like the longest shot on the board. Anyway, we could talk about bad beat stories forever, but rough day at the OK Corral for me at Churchill. But we really appreciate you coming on. I also want to compliment yourself and the human resource people at CDI for hiring Kevin Kilroy. Had a chance to meet him yesterday for the first time. I just think that you bring on some new faces. I'm sure there are a lot of great people that applied for that job. And listen, you needed a chance when you started. I needed a chance, with my podcast and other ventures. So I just want to compliment Kevin. Seems like a great guy. I'm sure he's going to do a great job for you guys at Fairgrounds.
Yeah, so my predecessor at Fairgrounds is Brian W. Spencer, who worked with me at Arlington and worked with me at Horse Player now. And when Brian left, I got the call into Fairgrounds. I had Ryan Martin for 2 years. He's now one of the top note writers at NYRA. Then I had Grant Lagrange, who's since gotten out of the industry, young guy, very enthusiastic, did a lot of things really well. And then last year I had the best possible person for the job in Brian Nadeau, who not only is fantastic and he's really good at TV, really good writer. He's also one of my best friends. We roomed together. Brian took another gig this winter. I'm not sure if he's announced what he's going to be doing publicly yet, so we'll leave that to him. But, when I needed to find somebody, we posted the job. I had a lot of great applicants, like you mentioned, and I gave everybody a writing exercise. I said, you got 2 hours to write a stakes advance. Here's the race. Here's some fake quotes. Write a stakes advance. And I got some pretty good, responses back, some, well-written pieces. But man, Kevin knocked it out of the park.
Home
I mean,
run, Sheffield Avenue.
yeah, there you go. I mean, with the wind blowing out, hitting the
Yeah.
buildings across the street, man. So, and then I interviewed him on Zoom. I'm like, this guy's in his early 40s. He's a racing fan. He's done a lot of different things in his life. He's written some books,
Yep.
but he's passionate about the game. And if you can hire people in different positions in this game to help make a difference that are passionate about it, it makes all the difference in the world. And he's gotten to New Orleans. I don't know when the guy's sleeping. I mean, he's writing stuff. He's enthusiastic about getting on TV. He did that. And I mean, again, to you yesterday, I mean, I've never watched this before. You do a great job with this. And I thought, he was a great guest yesterday. And you can just sense and feel his enthusiasm. So, I can't wait to get down there and start working with him. But I know until I get down there, feel pretty good that Fairgrounds is in good hands.
Well, I appreciate you threw me a compliment on Twitter. And listen, I'd love for you and Kevin and anyone else to spread the word. We've been on since January. I'm just a Chicago guy like you. Grew up in the northern suburbs. Just been a racing fan for 30 years, and I decided this January. Actually, I do have some journalism background as well, and I work for In the Money Media with Peter Thomas Forntel and Jonathan Kinchin. I do some blog writing for them and some podcasts as well. And I decided, you know what? Let's just start a podcast and see where it goes. 640 subscribers later, 40,000 views later, etc. It's growing tremendously, and I had the pleasure of having Scott Shapiro on earlier and Ed DeRosa last month, and I wanted to get the Churchill people involved some more. So I'm happy you're the trifecta now. You've completed the 3 team there with Churchill Downs, and I'm not the only one who's a fan. Trish Smith, you see on the bottom of the screen, Joe. You'll see comments and questions. Trish is one of our great viewers. She's a big fan of yours. So Trish, thanks for joining the show. We got C Money here tonight. He's waiting. He's a big handicapper. He's waiting to get some picks, and he mentioned he loved the few times he hosted Capital OTB, bringing you back in the day, right, Joe?
Yeah, I still pop on there with Seth Morrow, pretty regularly. He does a great job. Brian Nadeau's a big part of what they do at Capital OTB as well. And man, I always like to tell people we're one big dysfunctional family in the racing industry. If you're, promoting the sport like you are, if you're a jockey, a trainer, an owner, like we all do this because we love the game. So, this production is fantastic, man. Like I said, so I wish you all the best in your future. And, like I said, you do a great job with it. And, there's room for shows like this within the industry. And, I'll be watching regularly after being a guest tonight. So
I really do appreciate that. And, I've had other guests of, hosts of other podcasts on my show. And I always wonder why are we so competitive with each other? I mean, we just need to try to grow the game. I'm all about growing the game. I know you're an educator as well. I'm a full-time high school math teacher. By the way, if I was not a full-time high school math teacher, Joe, I saw you, put that application out on Twitter. Boy, in another lifetime, I would have applied for that job in a heartbeat. I probably wouldn't have gotten it, but I'll tell you what, I love writing. I love talking about horse racing, and maybe when I retire, maybe I'll be joining you another lifetime in 10 years somewhere. That'd be awesome. But before we get into handicapping, just really quickly, Are there some highlights of the fall meet that you just want to mention? Some horses to watch going forward on the Derby Trail, some big main winners that you've noticed that people should pay attention to, whether running, at fairgrounds or wherever else this winter.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see a lot of them on Saturday. I mean, I haven't had a chance to really dig into the card yet for Saturday, but you're going to see a lot of them. Stars of Tomorrow, they call it that for a reason. I got the listing of like horses that have won on this day in past years. And, Mandaloon won a 6 furlong allowance race on this day last year. And a lot of these horses will go to fairgrounds. A lot of them will go to Oaklawn. Some of them will go to Florida. I know we're going to dig into the Goldenrod and the Jockey Club a little bit later on.
Yep.
And, as we go through those, we're going to talk about the horses that have really impressed me because they're in those races. I mean, Howling Time has been great. I mean, Giant Game in Kentucky, before he went on to run third in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, for Romans, Call Me Midnight for Keith DeSormo, Sandstone for Kenny McPeak, Rock and Roll, Rattle and Roll is not going to be in the Kentucky Jockey Club for Ken McPeak, but he was third in a 6 furlong maiden race at Churchill. Looked like a horse that wanted to stretch out, and then he goes and wins the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland. So it's with the purses we have here, the maiden special weight events, the allowances, the stakes. You're going to have strong fields, you're going to have deep fields, and you're going to have a lot of star power moving forward. So super excited for Saturday. With everything going on today outside of the stakes fields and stuff. After I get off this podcast, I'm going to watch the Bulls beat up on the Houston Rockets and handicap Saturday's card. And I can't wait to dig into it.
Awesome. We got Jimmy. Jimmy's excited. He's the Grade One Clark and leftover turkey. It does not get any better than that as far as I'm concerned. I agree with you, Jimmy. Ralph, thanks for joining the show. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Ralph, and all the listeners out there. And again, if you're watching the show, please make sure you comment in that live chat on the top right-hand side of your computer. I'm sure Joe would be happy to answer some questions here as we go along. And listen, the Bulls are winning tonight. No worries about that. We can talk Chicago sports, whatever. But speaking of that, listen, we're just two Chicago guys going to chop it up tonight. Got two Chicago questions for you that I thought you'd be interested before we get into some handicapping. Best deep dish pizza.
Yeah, I mean, I'm partial to Lou Malnati's. I mean, I know that's probably a boring answer. There's a lot of good stuff there. Every time I go home, I try to get. I mean, I really like Home Run Inn as far as the thin crust goes. I grew up on that. Going there after little league games and stuff. But Lou Malnati's, I mean, that's the best to me. Freshest ingredients. Just thinking about it right now. I haven't had dinner yet. It's making me hungry.
Oh boy. Actually, Kevin mentioned a good point last night. He spent a bunch of time in Chicago. The thin crust pizza scene in Chicago very underrated. I mean, it's pizza anywhere in Chicago is good, but excellent thin crust pizza as well in Chicago. I know you appreciate this question. Oof. What's your favorite IPA these days?
Yeah, I mean, Zombie Dust is still the standard. Three Floyds. I mean, before you could get it in the stores, which you can now, and a lot more bars have it on tap, especially here in the Midwest. Then when it first came out, I mean, when it first came out, it was more of a novelty. Probably loved it more because you just couldn't get it very easily. I drive through Indiana on my way back home to Chicago. Always make that little pit stop, into Munster to go to Three Floyds.
Oh yeah,
they're the best brewery around, man.
A lot of good food in Chicago for sure. All right, let's dive in. I know your time is precious and you've had a long day, so we're gonna talk about three races tonight, folks. With Joe, usually we do a 10 minutes the post segment and dive a little deeper. But Joe, we'd love to have you on the show another time when you're a little less busy and have you on for the full hour. We can talk a little more about your career and whatnot. But tonight we're gonna just talk about three races with Joe, and then folks, we are gonna talk about the Hollywood Derby on Friday. It's a nice stake race at Del Mar. So, folks, we're gonna have to cover four stake races. The Hollywood Derby I'll cover on my own. We'll let Joe leave after we cover the three Churchill races. We're gonna talk about the Clark, folks, on Friday. Grade One, fantastic race with a fantastic history, and then we're gonna cover the two grade two 2-year-old 2-turn races that are points on the road to the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby, the Goldenrod, and the Kentucky Jockey Club. So first, let's talk about the Clark Handicap as I go ahead and I think if you watched me last night, you know I don't have a producer, I don't have an editor, I do it all. I'm clicking 4 or 5 buttons behind the scene here, Joe. I've got like 3 screens in front of me, so bear with me. I'm gonna go ahead and bring up the PPs for the Clark right here. We use DR formula here on this show, and I know Brisnet's a great tool as well. By the way, I know you're a big fan of Brisnet as well, so I just wanted to give that a little plug as well. But the Clark is an interesting race, Joe. I'm not even going to really preface my comments for it. I'm just going to let you go ahead and jump in. Although I do think it's fair to say that it is pretty much between Midnight Bourbon and Maxfield, unless you have a creative idea that I don't.
Yeah, I mean, Midnight Bourbon from the rail, with Joel aboard for Steve. Steve has said all along, way back to when this horse was competing in our Road to the Derby series at Fairgrounds, that he always thought this horse was going to get better with age. And he's probably going to have a monstrous 4-year-old year moving forward. Steve is meticulous with this horse like he is with all of his horses. He's the all-time leading trainer in the history of the sport for a reason. Top soldier, Scott Blasi's right there with him. And, I sit there on the balcony at Churchill sometimes, Howard, and watch from the balcony as Steve and Scott walk Midnight Bourbon around and around and around the paddock, just schooling him because he's still a little bit immature. And, he's the picture of what a thoroughbred should look like, as is Maxfield. He's drawn on the rail here, an alert break from the starting gate. This horse does his best work on the lead. I mean, he's 1-for-8 this year. His only win came in the Lecomte when he was on the front end at Fairgrounds. All of his other races, for the most part, he's been right up there on or near the lead, but he hasn't been able to seal the deal. And obviously he's faced some of the best 3-year-olds in the country all season. But I just think this is his time. Didn't go to the Breeders' Cup, could have gone on the Dirt Mile, maybe could have gone on the Classic, but, he gets to run out of his own stall here. He's been training great. He's been schooling. There's not a lot of speed in the Clark, and he's got the rail. Just needs to break, man. I just think he needs to break. I mean, who's going to take the first shot at him? You look at who's in the race, and who's going to take the first shot? I mean,
well, I'll just go ahead and scroll down. We've got, just to be able to see the whole field really quickly,
yeah.
we got Night Ops at 15-1. Nice older horse, but doesn't really class up in my opinion. Dr. Post, who I'll talk about for Pletcher, he's got 2. He also has Happy Saver, who I think most would argue has been a bit disappointing this year, really, for him. King Fury is an interesting horse. I know people have mentioned, but he's a closer, Joe, like you said. Chess Chief just seems completely outclassed here. Militaris also the same thing. And then you got Maxfield. So it sure looks like on paper, Midnight Bourbon can have the lead and can pretty much set the pace at any pace that he really wants.
Yeah, and I'll say this though, as far as King Fury goes, talking about him being a closer, if you look at the Bourbon Trail, the race for 3-year-olds that he won by 13 lengths,
yeah,
he was only 2 lengths off the lead in that race, much closer than he normally is. And Brian Hernandez Jr. is a student of the game. He knows there's not a lot of speed in here. You saw what he did with Sandstone in the Rags to Riches, when he went to the lead there. Crazy Beautiful, same thing for McPeak. Horse has no speed, puts her right on the hip of the other horse, wins the race. He's going to get this horse somewhat involved without taking him away from his best style. Horse loves Churchill. He's 3-for-4 here. And, the Fayette, he broke slow. He was in a claustrophobic spot, sloppy racetrack. I know he's won on the slot before, but he just never had a clean run. Outside of Midnight Bourbon, King Fury would be the one that I'd be looking at. Maxfield obviously makes a lot of sense. He's got better tactical speed than a lot of people have given him credit for over the course of his career. He's got that outside post, field of 8, decent run into the first turn, horses on the inside of him, outside of maybe Happy Saver, that don't have a lot of speed. So he should have a no excuses trip. He should be in the clear. He should be stalking. And, obviously 1 1/8 is probably his best distance. So, from a star perspective, this is a very exciting race. like you mentioned, I think if you're thinking Midnight Bourbon, Maxfield, maybe King Fury, I'd be hard pressed to see someone else other than one of those three winning it.
I don't know if you're willing to give out your official picks or you have to wait till the your show on Friday, but would you say 158,
No,
185, or you rather not?
yeah, no, I went 185.
185. Okay.
Yeah, and I think for multi-race purposes, depending on how I structure tickets, you might see Midnight Bourbon as a single. You might see me use Midnight Bourbon and King Fury, even though I've got Maxfield picked second publicly. Might be a horse I fade in the multi-race wagers, depending on how deep I go. That single six jackpot. We had no winners today. Like we're up to $183,000.
Yep.
People talk about jackpot wagers, and for the most part, I hate them. But 15% minimum, 20%, 20%, 20-cent minimum, 15% takeout.
There you go.
The one that we had on Sunday that paid $13,000 on a 20-cent minimum ticket, there were no winners higher than 8-1.
It's crazy.
I mean, it's a great bet, just the way it's structured. And so, probably want to take a little bit of a swing at that the next couple of days because there'll be a mandatory payoff on Sunday either way. So,
Okay. That's actually
yeah,
a good tip. So play that mandatory payout, folks, on Sunday. We got a question from Horsey Dave, Joe. I'd like you to answer. He's interested in Happy Saver. He thinks if you're shopping for value, great connections. He likes Happy Saver. Any opinion on the two Pletchers? Is there the one you like better than another? Do either one of them have any shot at all, as far as you're concerned?
I mean, Happy Saver's got better tactical speed, so he's going to get first run on a horse like Dr. Post. I think Happy Saver was a little bit of an afterthought entry, and I don't know what's going on with the Cigar Mile either. Uh, as far as horses that might stick around for that instead, I haven't heard anything. But I mean, Happy Saver lost to Max Player twice. I know Steve Asmussen was very high on Max Player going into the Breeders' Cup Classic, and obviously that didn't work out so well. I mean, if I had to choose one of the two, it would be Happy Saver only because he has better tactical speed. But Dr. Post, probably more reliable when it comes to having some sort of a late closing kick. I mean, if either one of those two horses win, I won't.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and give my opinion. This is what I love having, experts like Joe on the show, and I'd like to think I do a pretty good job handicapping once in a while that you get different opinions. My opinion of this race, Joe, is I completely agree with you about Midnight Bourbon. I think this is, I won't say his coming out party, that'd be disrespectful, but I think your morning line people have it exactly right. I think Maxfield will be favored, but Midnight Bourbon, if he cannot get the job done here, I'll be very disappointed. I think this is fantastic spotting. You skip the Breeders' Cup. You have a fresh horse, running here in a big race. I'm sure they had an idea what the field would be. They knew Maxfield was coming here, and they're not even worried about Maxfield. They're not scared off by Maxfield. So I think this race definitely goes through Midnight Bourbon. I would take 8-5 all day long because he's like even money on my value line, to be honest with you. The horse that I'd be interested a little bit, Joe, and I'm going to play a big exacta here, is my play, is with Dr. Post in second. I have to admit, Joe, I'm a little bit of a fanboy of Dr. Post. One of my biggest bets of 2020 was him finishing second in the Belmont. I played a big exacta with Tiz the Law and Dr. Post, and it paid real well. I will say this horse has been a little bit disappointing this year, Joe, but I think he's had some excuses. I thought he ran well in the Pacific Classic, where the pace just completely held together that day. And then the Woodward, he didn't want to be inside. He got a little bit of a weird trip, and our collector just went on with it. I think Dr. Post has a chance to be a little bit closer to the pace. I think he might be the best finisher of anyone in this race. And the thing about Maxfield, guys, is not only are you not going to get value, but Joe, he's going to have to do the dirty work, right? I mean, someone's going to have to go after Midnight Bourbon early. Maybe it will be King Fury, but I don't think Maxfield, is better as the distances go longer. I think he'd be like a crack miler, mile 16th if his career went on, and you get no value, with the 1/8 exacta. So I'm not poo-pooing your pick, by the way. Like I totally understand it, but from a vertical betting perspective, I'm going 1-3 and hoping Dr. Post can get second. I get 5-6-1 on that exacta. So that's how I'm going. Real quick before I move on, Joe, in terms of horizontal betting, I've talked to my viewers about not using two low price horses, in a straight ticket because you're not getting value if you're playing an even money in a 8 to 5, in a horizontal. I'd probably just single Midnight Bourbon. Do you agree with that philosophy, or would you go deeper in this race?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, I think the first thing I would say is every sequence is its own animal, so to speak. So you got to look at the sequence as a whole
Sure.
and say to yourself, what is my goal within the sequence as far as, am I trying to hit it for 50 cents because I know it's going to pay a lot? Or am I trying to hit it for $1.50 because I know I've got two or three horses in the sequence that I'm really confident in?
Yeah.
So for me, it's Midnight Bourbon and King Fury, and I'm willing to bet you a 12 pack of Zombie Dust King Fury straight up against Dr. Post if you want.
Uh-oh. Listen, I full disclosure, and you can go back and look. I already owe Vic Stauffer a dinner when we did a head-to-head. So, but I'll tell you what, our bet was a little more expensive because Vic's got extremely, extremely fine taste. But I'll tell you what, you got to bet. I will take Dr. Post. You got King Fury. We'll see
Yeah.
what happens.
Yeah. If
And
you ever cross paths, I mean, the 12 pack probably isn't a good idea, but when we cross paths, have a couple beers or whatever, friendly bet. We'll just have a friendly head-to-head wager on those two.
that would be awesome. I've actually not been to Churchill in a long time. I know you're going to hate me for saying this, but I've actually never been to the Derby. So I want to go to the
Wow.
Derby. Yeah, I'm looking forward to going to the Derby. Maybe next year, we'll see. But I'm sure our paths will cross at some point. So, all right, you folks heard it throughout the world. It's Dr. Post versus King Fury. Good luck with that pick, Joe. I think
All
that's
right.
King Fury is sneaky. Let's go ahead on to the next race here as I go ahead and take off these PPs. The next race we're going to look at, folks, there's two 2-year-old races on Saturday. We're going to look at the Goldenrod. This is race 10, I believe. Yes, race 10. So I go ahead and bring this one up here in just a second. Joe, why don't you go ahead and talk about the road to the Kentucky Derby? Maybe talk a little bit about the points, etc., as I bring up the PPs here.
Yeah, it's exciting because the road starts in September with the Iroquois and the Pocahontas at Churchill, and obviously we get the Kentucky Jockey Club and the Goldenrod, which the last few years have probably been every bit as good as the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. And I know you talked to Kevin Kilroy about it last night. As far as I'm concerned, and he's concerned, we get the brand new races at Fairgrounds the day after Christmas, the Untappable and the Gun Runner, which are going to be 2-year-old races for points on the road to the Derby and Oaks as well. I mean, I always tell people the Kentucky Derby and the Oaks are the only two races that take 5 months to handicap because it's really true.
Yeah.
You're following the progression, you're looking at the pedigrees, the distances get longer, and then some horses wind up being sprinters, some horses wind up being turf horses, and some horses wind up being the kings of the handicap division moving forward. So to me, it's the most fun part of the game.
Yeah, last year this race was won by Finite, a really nice horse. Who do you have? We'll just go ahead and jump right in, Joe.
Last year was Travel Column.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was Finite the year before,
I
or was I
believe
wrong?
Finite was the year before.
Okay, my bad. Travel.com.
Yeah, Travel
Uh,
Column over Clariere, and then they took their battle to the fairgrounds the entire winter.
they did.
Clariere obviously wound up being better than Travel Column moving forward. I'm not sure what happened to Travel Column. We're going to see her again, but yeah, hopefully we get some more rivalries like that moving forward. Brad Cox got a nice one in Famed here. She hasn't run 2 turns yet, and she's certainly bred for it. Uncle Mo out of that elusive quality mare for Godolphin. She's got the rail, which could compromise her chances. I was kind of sort of against Sandstone in the Rags to Riches. I didn't really know what to make of her. She won her second career start by 9 lengths, but I thought it was a very average field, and she did it in the slop. But then she won, the Rags to Riches gate to wire over a fast track. And the final time of 144.68, incidentally, was the exact same final time as the boys ran in the Street Sense. And I don't know. I don't see any reason why Sandstone can't come back and do it all over again. I mean, she's got 2-turn experience. She looked fantastic winning the Rags to Riches. Uguri, who's putting the blinkers on, seems like a little bit of a desperation move to me for Rudy Brisset. She was just absolutely disposed of by Sandstone. And again, I love getting creative in these races, Howard, and trying to, project who's going to improve and who's going to run better around 2 turns or who's going to take a huge step forward. sometimes you just got to take what the races give you. And to me, it looks like Sandstone's a little bit of a standout.
So you've got Sandstone on top, who is the four. By the way, the PPs, folks, just literally came out a few hours ago. So Sandstone, I believe, is the 4 horse in this race on Saturday.
Yes.
Who do you have along with Sandstone in your
Yeah,
picks?
I haven't handicapped it that deep yet.
No problem.
Uh, you
I
know, Secret Oath did kind of impress me in her last race, going 2 turns for the first time. Speed figures aren't great, but she was under wraps late for Lucas. Lucas has won this race 5 times, probably hasn't won it in 25 years.
yeah.
And that horse will fly under the radar a little bit. So I might mess around with that one.
Folks, you have to give Joe a little bit of a break because he's working all day and he didn't deep dive for today. So listen, if you listen to him on Saturday or his picks on Churchill, probably starting Friday online, you'll see much more detail. Joe, I've got a crazy idea in this race, and
Okay,
and
good.
and people on
Shoot.
this show know that I go price shopping, but I always give it with, valid opinions and with some backing. It doesn't always work out. I know you appreciate, price horses and you go price shopping as well.
Of
Uh,
course.
I want to talk about Hal's Dream for just a minute, okay? So Hal's Dream, first of all, is trained by I don't know how you can say underrated anymore, but Ken McPeak, I'm a huge fan of. He does not win out, first time out very often. He puts Hal's Dream, who's by Curlin of an Empire Maker mare, excuse me. So this horse is screaming distance, right? I'm not sure why he didn't start him on dirt, but obviously this horse wants 2 turns. He takes him to Keeneland. He's 20-1. I watched the race. We're not going to watch the replay. This horse absolutely flew up the inside. Now, I know it wasn't the strongest field. Folks, if you want to see a gallop out, and Joe, I don't know how you feel about gallop outs in general. Sometimes I think they're meaningless. Sometimes I think they mean a lot. This horse galloped out like an absolute train. She closed well. She's got dirt pedigree. And I'll tell you what I like about this race a lot, Joe. You talk about speed. I mean, Famed is going, right? Famed has to go from the inside. It looks that way. Secret Oath, not slow. David Cohen usually is pretty aggressive. Sandstone's going to be up close. And then Yaguri's got blinkers on. Joe, I envision a possibility of this thing completely falling apart. And not only as a handicapper and a student of the game, but as an owner as well, how much improvement you can see from race 1 to race 2, especially with these babies. I don't know if Hal's Dream can win. This might be a ridiculous pick, but I think Hal's Dream is interesting, at least to hit the board and clunk up. And not only that, McPeath, has Sandstone also. So one is going. Lannery's just going to ride the rail, just like Calvin Bow rail, like he always does. And Joe, I think Hal's Dream is very interesting as a bomb play underneath. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think one of the best things about Formulator, and like you said, I use Briss, as the foundation of my handicapping, speed figures, pace indicators, et cetera, et cetera. I use a lot of Thorograph too, but I use Formulator for the trip notes. I take all my own trip notes. I mean, you know, 25, 30 years ago, horse players that followed a circuit every single day had such an advantage. And that advantage has been taken away by the plethora of stats that are just handed over to people when they walk through the door. And it's been quite an equalizer. But one of the advantages that you can have is taking good trip notes, good bias notes, et cetera, et cetera. The turf is a much better place for both of those things. And I know Kenny McPeak, because I know he does this at Ellis Park as well. He likes to run his horses around 2 turns that he knows need 2 turns. And the vast majority of the opportunities to do that, whether it's Ellis, Saratoga, et cetera, are going to be on the turf. So even if he has a dirt horse, he will run him on turf. I've got great trip notes on this horse too. Pace was slow. This horse was covered up at the rail, got shuffled back, was held up, rallied through traffic, huge effort, galloped out, way in front. So I see where you're coming from. I don't think it was a very strong race.
No.
Obviously has to translate that turf to the dirt, has to run a lot faster. But I wouldn't be surprised if I had picked this horse publicly second or third for all the reasons that, we both came up with. I'm I'm with you. You know, what's Brian Hernandez going to do? Of course, he's going to ride Sandstone. He rode both
Right.
of these horses before, but he's going to ride Sandstone. So you can't read too much into the jockey musical chairs here. And you got Corey Lannery, who, you know, might not be the jockey he was 3-4 years ago, but he's still really good at coming from off the pace. And you're going to have an honest pace and you don't have a big field. So traffic shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, I have no idea. I think we're going to get like, 15 to 1, somewhere around there on this horse. And one of my favorite plays, and we'll move on to the next race and let you go, Joe, and because
Yep.
I we appreciate your time. But one of my favorite plays is the key a horse underneath. I think this is a great key in second or third in your tries, Joe. And, play your top horses on top. And, you never know. I just think this is a great underneath horse.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe this horse can't run on dirt, but she's bred for dirt. And I know McPeak would probably put on the rain dance outfit on, by exaggerator here, but I think it's
Yeah,
going to be.
Empire Maker Mare. I mean, this horse is bred to eat slop. So
Yeah, absolutely. The weather's gonna be nice though on Saturday, folks. But anyway, take a look at Hal's Dream. I could be completely wrong. I think she's a bit interesting in the Golden Rod. Let's look at the last race that we're going to talk about with Joe. This is the Jockey Club Stakes for 2-year-old colts. This is for the boys. As I go ahead and switch screen, and boy, Joe, what an unbelievable race! I know you haven't had a lot of time to look at it. How about a 14 horse war going a mile 16th in that pretty short run into the first turn there at Churchill? This is going to be a very exciting race, Joe.
yeah, when I got the overnight, I was shocked to see 14 of them. I mean, it's fantastic. And you look through here, and virtually all of them belong in the race. Uh, Obviously, Howling Time is going to get a big play off the 2-turn debut in the Street Sense, where he looked awesome. Talk about a strong gallop out. You know, Joe Talamo said, you know, this horse has the talent and the mind to be a good one moving forward. Tis the Bomb. You talk about McPeak, right? So sprinted the horse on dirt in the debut, tried to go on turf at Ellis in the second start. Race came off the turf, the 1.5-turn mile, won by 15 lengths, only beat 5 horses, but then went to Kentucky Downs, won over that quirky course there, won the Bourbon at Keeneland, second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, were not the greatest of trips. And if you look at the workouts, this horse is trained lights out on the dirt. Now, I know he's by Hit It a Bomb, who's by Warfront, but the horse is trained lights out on dirt. Even though he doesn't ride the horse in the afternoons, Robbie Alvarado is a regular exercise rider for this horse. And he told me at Kentucky Downs, this horse is a real deal. And he won that race at 6-1. And, you know, he's got to win in a second against grade 1 and grade 2 competition since. So a lot of people are going to look at that form and they're going to be like, man, this is a turf horse. But I really think he might be just as good on the dirt based on what he's done and how he's trained over it.
Well, not only that, as you very well know, Joe, uh, over the history of Churchill, especially in the last 10 years, I would say turf horses can do just fine on the dirt. I think Animal Kingdom is the one that comes to mind for me as the best example of that. It's not the typical deep dirt course that you see maybe out east or especially excuse me out west right now. So there's no reason why he can't transfer his form. I just will say one thing. I talked about this on my show last year. I also talked about this with Matt Bernier when he was on my show. I'm not a big fan of horses coming out of the Breeders' Cup in general, Joe. I think, I have no reason to doubt McPeak. I'm sure the horse is feeling great. I think Arkla won last year over Thanksgiving weekend after competing in the Breeders' Cup. But in general, Joe, how do you feel about horses coming out of the Breeders' Cup when they're really, prepped mainly, you would think, for that race?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be underlays. I don't know if Tiz the Bomb's going to fit that category. For the most part, I would agree with you. Maybe we get an extra tick in the odds because of that thinking. Maybe we don't because of the name recognition coming out of the Breeders' Cup. You know, obviously the turf form might help us a little bit in that regard. I don't know what I'm expecting to get on Tiz the Bomb, 7-2, 4-1. But for the most part, no doubt, I agree with you. I also agree, you know, when horses are running in these races as afterthoughts and not necessarily as races they've been pointing towards the
Yeah,
entire time. We
yeah,
know Midnight Bourbon was pointing to the Clark. You know, we know Bonnie South was pointing to the Falls City. I like when trainers point horses to races and don't throw them in there as afterthoughts. And, you know, this horse does have a 5 furlong workout on November 20th
yeah.
since the Breeders' Cup. and he just seems to be a machine. So, in general, I would agree with you, but not necessarily with this individual horse.
Any quick thoughts before we let you go? There's some maidens in this, some maiden breakers in this race. Smile Happy got a nice number for McPeak. Run Happy colt there by out of a Pleasant Tap mare. So obviously that horse screams distance. You have White Abario coming in for Safi. Actually broke his main two starts back, but this looks to be a pretty fast horse coming in from Gulfstream. You got a Dallas Stewart horse, which I'm very interested in, Joe, because Dallas Stewart does not win first time out often. This horse won by 3. You saw the race. I'm not too familiar with the race, to be honest with you, but any thoughts on some of the very, very lightly raced horses here?
Yeah, I'll just throw a couple of them out there. So I really like Call Me Midnight, his second behind Giant Game, who obviously came back and ran third in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Then he came back and won, but man, marooned in post position number 14.
Yeah.
That's not going to help. The Cassie horse, synthetic and turf. I'm against that one by Australia. I guess you got to try it. Ben Diesel defeated Bourbon Heist, who's kind of like a hanger. I mean, he looked good in his debut, but I don't know, just not one of those horses that even at a price I would be overly interested in.
Okay.
Safi Joseph, one-turn speed horse. Safi just doesn't do that well at Churchill Downs, man. And these horses come in from Gulfstream with these big numbers, and they get over bet, and very rarely do they perform. Smile Happy, I agree with you. I thought he ran great that day for Kenny. Kenny could be in line for a big day. The one I was kind of interested in was Texas Red Hot. Randy Morse has had a tremendous meet at Churchill. This horse stretched out to a one-turn mile last out. We talked about the gallop outs. This horse was 6 wide, sustained the bid like a horse that wanted to go longer, and galloped out way in front. And, I don't know that he can win this race, but if you're looking at a 15, 20 to 1 shot, like you said, that you want to play underneath, that might be the horse that I recommend.
Well, the one thing I noticed about Texas Red Hot, Joe, is Texas Red is only has a $10,000 stud fee, which is a little bit surprising to me. But take a look at the sales price. This horse cost 130 at the OBS sale in April, so 13 times his, the stud fee, Joe. I know as an owner and as someone who's very familiar with pedigree, that's got to open some eyes. Obviously, they think very highly of this horse.
Yeah, no, and he's progressed nicely. And, Randy's, had a really, really good year at Churchill, and he's had some nice young stock that he's developed well. And like I said, I like the way this horse ran last time, not only the professionalism that he showed, and I know it was a fast pace and the racetrack kind of favored off the pace types, but stretching out around 2 turns kind of seems like a horse to me that might appreciate it. So, you're going to get 20 or 30 to 1 on him. Worth using in those tries and supers.
Joe, we're going to go ahead and let you go because I promised we'd keep you on about half an hour. Any literally closing thoughts for this weekend at Churchill Downs?
No, it's just going to be a blast to enjoy the great racing. I mean, man, 12 races a day. You've got the Fall City tomorrow and Thanksgiving and, the Clark on Friday, and then just a tremendous Stars of Tomorrow card on Saturday. We'll draw the Sunday races tomorrow, but potentially that mandatory payoff in the Derby City 6 carryovers over 180,000. And, that's a kind of bet where even if you don't have a big budget, you got a 20-cent minimum, you could put in a $40 ticket and take home, several grand. It's the one bet in horse racing where you really can do that with a couple of singles and some good opinions. So just looking forward to all of it. Looking forward to having several beers Sunday night, relaxing on Monday, and then slowly gearing up for the drive, the 10-hour drive down to New Orleans on Friday. We got Yes, It's Ginger and the Steak on Saturday, December 4th at Fairgrounds. She's the best one we got in our barn, so I'll get there just in time to watch her run and get geared up for the rest of the Fairgrounds meet. So lots going on the next couple of weeks, but looking forward to all of it.
Man, good luck with your stable. Folks, the hardest working person in the business, Joe Cruz.
I don't disagree. Thank you.
It is honestly been a real pleasure to meet you, and I hope to meet you in person sometime, and we'll someone's going to get some beers, either me or you. We'll see what happens. But thanks a lot. Safe travels down to Fairgrounds, and happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
Like I said before, man, you do a great job with the show. Keep it up. keep it rolling. The more people you get to notice it, the more people that help you promote it. I mean, the sport needs things like this. You do a great job promoting it. You've got great opinions, great guests. So just keep it going and best of luck.
Thanks. So I told Kevin, look, I wouldn't mind if you slipped a little HHH racing podcast comment there on on your shows coming up, or maybe at fairgrounds. Throw me a bone if that doesn't get you in trouble. So
Yeah,
thanks a
no, you
lot.
got it. No doubt for sure.
Thanks a lot, Joe. Safe
All right.
travels. We'll talk soon. Take care.
Peace. Have a good one.
All right, you too. Bye bye.
Later.
All righty. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go with the camera issues again. Sorry. Once in a while we get camera issues here. Um, that was Joe Chrisfeck joining us. Thanks, you guys. We're going to go ahead and talk about one more race here. It's the race on Friday at Del Mar. I'm going to go ahead and bring it up because it's a fantastic race that we've got here. There it is. We're going to talk about Del Mar. By the way, I see Janet. Janet, thanks. I appreciate you as always joining the show. Horsey Dave, thank you very much. Yeah, listen, if you folks want to give me a nice holiday present, one of the two things you can do is either subscribing and or join the Race Day blog, or both would be fantastic. But yeah, Horsey Dave, we're getting there. We're making nice strides. Let me quickly talk about this race at Del Mar on Friday. This is the last race we're going to go over. We're doing a little different show tonight. It's not going to be a pick five because of the holiday tomorrow and the PPs came out late and etc. But I just want to quickly talk about this race. It's worth talking about. It's a mile and a half turf race, Grade 2, the Hollywood Turf Cup Stakes at Del Mar. This is on Friday, folks. This is race 7 on Friday. The post time is 6:33 Eastern Standard Time, I believe, and I just took down the PPs. I think it's right after the Clark. So I'm not positive about that, by the way, but I think soon after the Clark is this race. So this would be another good race to play. I want to show you two replays in this race. This is a pretty short field. I'll swing it by real quick. Again, they're going 3 turns at Del Mar with some names that we know. You've got award winner Friars Road. Anyone remember Friars Road? If you remember Friars Road on this channel, let me know. I talked about Friars Road for a good 10 minutes as a price play. He went off at a ridiculous 4-1 and almost won the damn thing with an unbelievable ride last time by Rispoli. But Friars Road, a price play that we talked about on this channel, is back running in this race. Say the Word, a horse that I have actually some history on from the Matt Bernier show way back from last year. Astronaut is a horse I know some people on this show, some viewers, like a little bit going forward. Ran in the Breeders' Cup. He's back running Friday. Cupid's Claws. Acclimate, a very speedy horse for Phil D'Amato, 4-1. And then this horse, who is driving me absolutely cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I have chased Rock Emperor so many times. And then 2 starts back when he was 15-1. I mentioned him on my blog as someone I thought, could probably still win, but, I'd probably use more underneath. What happens? Sure enough, the dang thing goes ahead and wins 2 starts back. I had a small win bet on him, but not nearly as much as I had in the past. And then ran in the Breeders' Cup and ran a little bit into trouble. I want to show 2 replays. We haven't watched a lot of replays recently on this show based on time constraints, but we have a little bit of time now. There's 2 replays that I want to show everyone, and I think it's important to see them. The first one I want to show is the John Henry Turf Championship. This was at Santa Anita about a month ago, and there's a bunch of horses coming out of this race. You can see Acclimate. This is the Friars Road race, award winner in Cupid's Claws. I'm going to go ahead and start this race. Now you can see here, Acclimate is the one on the lead. Friars Road's going to be coming up the inside. Award winner is the 1 getting a perfect trip, and Cupid's Claws is the 11. The horses I really want you to pay attention to here are the 1 and the 12. We're not going to put any sound on. Let me go right towards the back it up right here. So I'm going to pause it right here. We'll pause it right here. So the 1 horse is a little bit hard to see, but he's on the inside here. And the 12 is way back on the inside, getting an absolute dream trip. You see, Acclimate is the 6 on the lead. You're going to see the 1 come into the picture here. The 1 is, let me just pause this here. The 1 is right here on the inside with absolutely no excuses. And the 12 is the pink there, I believe, coming up the rail and then angling out. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward. You see the 1 award winner had a little bit of trouble trying to get right there. He had to steady, but he did get through. And the 1 never got by the 6. Meanwhile, as I'm going to go ahead, here's Friars Road right here, getting an absolute dream trip. Here's Cupid Claus. This is United, who's going to win the race, the 4. This is United right here, who is not in the race on Friday. I'm just going to go ahead and let this roll through. You see the rail horse, award winner, never got by, and it was a great finish there. Acclimate almost won. Award winner could not sustain that run on the inside. There's United and there's Friars Road. So the reason why I wanted to show this race, I go ahead and pull back to the PPs here, is I'm completely against award winner, the 1. I know he's going to set a very nice trip, but had 0 excuses last time and is going further. So I'm against award winner on Friday. I'm also against Friars Road for 2 reasons. Number 1, the 3-1 is way too low. And number 2, he got an unbelievable trip and ride from Rispoli into a very fast pace. I don't think there's going to be a fast pace this time. So listen, you love a horse one time, you don't have to love the horse the next time, folks. It's all situational. So I'm against Friars Road on Friday. He can absolutely, finish in the money, but on the win end, I'm against Friars Road. Now, the other race that I want to watch here is the Say the Word race on August 21st. This was the Del Mar handicap. This is the race that was won by Astronaut. So you can see Astronaut Acclimate was back in this race and Say the Word and award winner. But really, what I want you to pay attention to is the number 11, Say the Word. And ladies and gentlemen, I've seen crazy trips, but you want to talk about, a trip. You got to watch the 11 here, Say the Word. Now, Say the Word right here. This is Joe Bravo in the irons. Saved ground the entire way. That is a great job. That the fact that Bravo was able to get over and save ground. By the way, this is Acclimate again on the lead here. Astronaut, who wins this race, is the 10. You can see him there just on the outside in the white. But again, I'm going to let this roll a little bit. You see Say the Word here, right on the inside. I have no problem with saving ground. I like when a horse saves ground. But this is saving ground to a fault. Look what happens here. He continues to stay on the inside and gets shuffled all the way back. We're going to go ahead and let it run here. You see he gets shuffled all the way back to last. But take a look at this. Joe Bravo, guys, has a monster hold. A monster hold on this horse. Watch the trouble this horse gets into. I'm going to go full screen, folks. He is never, ever allowed to run. Just keep your eyes on the 11. Again, he's right here, folks. Joe Bravo, I'm not saying, that there is room in. And I guess I am saying it's his fault because I would have liked at some point for him to get out. But he stayed on the inside trying to find a hole, and he just got very unlucky, and it never developed. Just look at this. He's got a hammer lock. He's waiting. Okay, can't go inside. He tries to angle out. It's still look. He's still in a complete hammer lock, and it's not until about right now he's able to extricate himself. And even right here, look at this. Right here, guys, you can see the mouth of the horse is wide open because he's pulling on the bit because he still has no room. He's still blocked by a wall. I mean, this horse was just blocked every single step of the way, never had any run, and still finished, only a few lengths back in this race. I mean, Say the Word, by any measure, folks, was the best horse in this race by far. If he had found room at all, I think he wins this race. I think that's a pretty, fair assessment. Um, of course, I had like 5 or 6 horses in this race in the pick 5. I did not have Astronaut. This was one of the worst beats I had of the year. To be, for full disclosure, it was an absolutely brutal beat in the pick 5. I love Say the Word in this race, and it's not just because of the last race, folks. He's got races in his PPs that are clearly good enough to win. He's been given a little bit of a break. I don't mind DeSormo on this horse. I love Say the Word. If I get 4-1, I am going to the window and betting this horse heavy. I would take as low as 5-2. I'm hoping I get 5-2 on Say the Word, and I'll be placing a nice win bet. And I'm going to single him most likely in my pick fives as well. Astronaut is improving, but I think last time was the time for him. And then, Acclimate is going to be on the lead and could get loose. But as I stated previously with Joe Christofek, I do not like horses coming out of the Breeders' Cup. I think Acclimate's going to go to the lead and can take them a long way. But I think deep in stretch, Acclimate is just going to get outclassed. At least I hope so. And then you got Rock Emperor. Now, of course, Rock Emperor can win this race, but I would never trust this horse at 8-5. I actually think he might be lower than that. Is he a better horse than Say the Word? On his best day, maybe, but you never know what you're going to get from Rock Emperor. And again, he's coming out of the Breeders' Cup, so I like Say the Word a lot in this race. I realize I'm hoping that DeSormo is not too far back. I think he's going to get a good trip. My only concern is that he's a little bit too far back. I just hope Kent DeSormo times it right. I'm a big fan of Say the Word here in this spot. Let me get some comments here. I apologize that I didn't get as many comments as I wanted when Joe was on the show. And again, I apologize for the little blurry here. We've got C Money. Yes, Sanita and Del Mar do play differently. It's a shorter, stretch there at Del Mar. So, but Say the Word has run well at Del Mar before. C Money. Uh, let's see what else here we've got. Horsey Dave wants a single Rock Emperor. I have no argument with that. I just don't think he's reliable. That's all I'm going to say, about there. So that's my opinion, folks, of the race on Friday at Del Mar. Folks, it's a huge weekend of races this weekend, all different places. You got Churchill, you've got Del Mar. I'm sure you folks will be, betting somewhere this weekend. I'm going to go ahead and end our show tonight. But before I do that, I just want to thank all you viewers out there. I'm so thankful for all you viewers out there. I sent out an email today to many of you. I've been getting tremendous support on this channel since day one in January. And if there's something you want to see different, do you think the show is going too long, too short? You want more questions from our guests about their lives and their stories? Or do you want me to just get more into the handicapping, quicker? Any comments I greatly appreciate, but in general and overall, I just thank all of you for subscribing to the channel. Again, make sure you hit that notification button. Please sign up for the Race Day blog. And the best thing you can do is not only take care of those things, but tell a friend. Tell 2 friends. Tell 3 friends. Tell the guys at work or the ladies at work. Tell your relatives all about the HHH Racing Podcast on YouTube. I greatly appreciate all the support that I've gotten. This has been Howard Kravitz, episode 97. And episode 100 is not too far away. I'm going to have a special end of the year celebration, episode 100. It's coming up in a few weeks. You're going to hear all about it on upcoming shows. So please stay tuned for that. The next show will be a week from tomorrow at our regularly scheduled time, Thursdays, 7 p.m. Folks, I moved it up an hour so we don't bump into NFL Thursday. So please join me a week from tomorrow, Thursday, December 2nd, 7 p.m. Eastern. Guest to be determined. That is going to wrap up the show, ladies and gentlemen. Again, thanks for watching. Happy Thanksgiving and a very healthy holiday season to all of you. And good luck in your betting, especially at Churchill Friday and Saturday. Take care, everyone. Enjoy that turkey.